Hello everyone, I'm Jeff Kirik, sports editor of the Erie Times News, and this is Tom Reisenweber, star reporter, and this is Kickoff Talk. Welcome to week 7 of Kickoff Talk. Unbelievable that we're that far into the season, but I know we say that every week after week 1.
Well, you don't really expect week 7 to be 80-degree weather, but thankfully on Friday it should dip into the 50s.
High 80s today, so...
should finally feel like football weather on Friday, though.
Exactly. They said, high of like 59, I think.
Something like that.
So that is good football weather. We have some interesting things happening in District 10. One of which is the second forfeit in 2 weeks. Different team. Fairview forfeited last week against Mercyhurst Prep, but Fairview will play this week at Corey, and then we have a second one.
Yeah, Fairview got healthy in time, but Seneca is in trouble. They're going to forfeit against Greenville. I know Greenville is looking for a game. Not sure what will happen. It's just a trend we're seeing now. We saw 2 in the WPIL over the last couple of weeks. There was a team in Frederick, Maryland that just canceled the rest of their season because of lack of players. Wow. And I think, you look at Iroquois is getting pretty close. Wilmington could really do some damage this week to them. Union City's getting a little close there. Sagertown's always a question. So we might it's kind of a trend now, unfortunately, for high school football.
One of the things that Seneca noted when they made the announcement was that they started 6 freshmen last week. And it was a possibility of starting more than 6 freshmen this week because of injuries to veteran players, and that's just an undoable thing. You can't ask that from freshmen to play against seniors in those conditions, especially a Greenville team like.
And you almost wonder if some of these schools should consider this next cycle just having a JV team and keeping that program going. Play a few seniors on the JV or whatever, but right now you're playing young kids against varsity players. It's tough.
And we hate to see this, but the really unusual thing we were talking about the other day is Fairview's a AAA team out of 6A, and both Seneca and Iroquois, the other one that's sort of struggling with roster size right now, are both AA.
Yeah.
So it's you would always suspect that to be a 1A team. So this is a combination of injuries, and it's also a combination of kids not playing football who are in the school.
Yeah, it's tough because you wonder how much I think 6 classes has to do with this. That it forced this region alignment of 8 regions, and you're just getting hammered by these better teams where you could be playing, Iroquois and Seneca and Northwestern, they're small enough, they should be playing Region 2 teams. Union City, Eisenhower, Cochranton, but they're stuck playing Wilmington and Greenville and Sharpsville and just getting blasted every week, and it's just not doing the sport any good.
Yeah, and Sharpsville's one of the southern teams that's had its own issues with so many injuries that they're starting to feel the effects a little bit.
Yeah, when I was down there for the Sharon game, they had, I think, 5 guys on crutches, and they had to play 8-minute quarters against Sharon, which never happens. That's a 35-32 game every year, and they're to the point where they had to ask for kind of a mercy thing. So it's getting brutal all around.
Now we're going to turn our attention to 2 teams that do not have roster size problems. The two teams in the area that most don't have those problems. Cathedral Prep is going to visit McDowell this week, and this is one of the more long-awaited matchups between the 2 teams. I know we say that probably every year because they're always long-awaited, but Prep 4-2, coming off a really nice win on the road last week. McDowell at 6-0.
Yeah, and it's always anticipated because it's a nice rivalry game, but this is the year where it feels like McDowell can compete and maybe beat Prep. It's going to be a very good game. Colin Johnson, I'm sure, is excited for this game from Prep. Last year, they won 45-6. He ran for 74 yards on a touchdown, threw for 238 and 3 touchdowns in a blowout win. Jack Odakoven had 5 catches for 63 yards. Chris Yukno was held 9-24 for 64 yards on a pick last year for McDowell. Demarion Rash ran for 33 yards. Mike Medeski had 3 catches, but McDowell really couldn't find much success on offense last year.
And that was a surprise because I think we even talked in Kickoff Talk that it was going to be closer. Prep had those 2 consecutive years where they had just a loaded junior and then senior class and had gone undefeated, and everybody expected them to beat everybody badly in their on their schedule, but that wasn't the case last year. Prep had gone in with 2 losses, and we thought, here could be a competitive Prep-McDowell game, and it wasn't.
Yeah, and it was kind of surprised how lopsided it was. And thinking back, maybe McDowell has a little bit of an edge being at home, The last two games, Gus Anderson Field, the controversial 63-7 game 2 years ago when the entire prep team celebrated a touchdown in the end zone. And then the last one before that was a 9-7 with 3 field goals. So there was some interesting games at Gus Anderson Field between these two teams, and I think it's going to be one of the closer games we've had in a while.
And I get the feeling that McDowell is really fired up for this. Would you sense that?
Yeah, I went to both practices this week, and both teams are just, you can feel the tension, the excitement. They're both ready to go. It's funny, you look at both sides of it. I think prep kids are kind of taking an issue with McDowell, thinking they can beat him, and McDowell kids are like, this is the year. So it's kind of interesting at the mentality of both sides of it. I talked to both teams about how the mental side of it is more important than anything else with this game, because you don't want to be intimidated. You want to go in there fired up. So it's going to be a great game between the two best teams in District 10.
And you have McDowell, who's been impressive every week. And then you have Prep, who's played a loaded schedule. Both these two teams traditionally play loaded schedules. Prep the last 3 weeks has played three pretty powerful teams.
Yeah, I think everyone can agree that Prep's played a much tougher schedule. McDowell has played some traditional powers that have turned out to kind of embarrass them a little bit. Prep has played the traditional powers that have turned out to be pretty good. McDowell still has some really good games left. They still have to play Austin Fetch, who's pretty good. And so we'll see how they adapt to this kind of thing. But neither one had any kind of emotional letdown overlooking their opponent last week. Both looked great in their games. So they both come in with a lot of momentum.
One thing, McDowell finally made its entrance into the top 10 in the state.
The state rankings, they have a number 9. Kind of interesting that they put them in there now, and then if they lose this game, maybe they drop back out, or if they keep it close or beat Prep, they obviously stay in there.
If they beat Prep, my guess is they would move up.
Probably jump in. Maybe even top 5. They could beat Prep, because Prep is number 2 right now in 4A. So it's going to be 2 state-ranked teams. I don't remember the last time these two are both in the top 10 of the state playing each other, so it's pretty exciting for Friday.
What do you think about the keys of the game? I know that Prep, coming off the St. Ed's game, hadn't shown much passing game against St. Ed's, because St. Ed's is pretty tough. But the last 2 weeks, they've thrown for about 600 yards, and last week it was ridiculous. They had 5 touchdown Colin Johnson had 5 touchdown passes in the first half, but they also have that weapon back there in Luke Sittinger, who can just pound the ball up the middle.
To me, the biggest matchup to me is the wide receivers and defensive backs for both teams. They both have some pretty solid receivers that have had great seasons so far, and they have secondaries who are pretty good. So I think whoever can win that battle, it's going to be interesting to see Chris Yukno and Colin Johnson, how much they pass the ball as opposed to running, because they both have pretty solid running backs as well. Yeah. I think you're almost even in running backs a little bit.
But McDowell has the duel.
They have the duel, and the thing with Elijah Lopez is the shiftiness. Yeah. He can get out of tackles. Danny Blue is more of a straight-on runner, but he will run you over kind of runner.
And the one thing I've seen on the highlights that Tom has put on, everybody check out the highlights because Tom combs through the films every week, is when Danny Blue gets a hole, he is through it like he's like a shot through there. Yeah.
And he's going to run you over if you're waiting for him. So it's going to take a lot to bring him down. So I have this as a shootout, a 35-28 game. So it's going to be interesting to see how both defenses adapt to it. I think if it's higher scoring, it helps Prep. If it's lower scoring, it definitely helps McDowell.
And who are you picking?
I struggled with this a long time. I'm taking Prep just because I think they have the mental edge right now going in, because I think they've been so dominant. But I wouldn't be shocked at all if McDowell can defend their home field. And I tell you what, if they win Friday, it's going to be like winning the state championship for McDowell.
It would be quite a win, quite a scene at McDowell if that happened. The place is going to be totally jammed for this.
I can imagine it's already getting close to, not sold out, but pretty close to selling out for seats. You can stand around there, but you got to get your tickets early in this one.
Yeah. Looking at the rest of the schedule, we mentioned the Fairview at Corey game. There's another Erie County matchup where Girard is visiting Northeast. Northeast coming off 2 consecutive wins. We have Harbor Creek at Titusville. Then we have 2 Region 7 games where Erie County teams are on the road. Fort LaBeouf is visiting DuBois, and General McLean is visiting Warren.
Yeah, Region 6 is kind of interesting because you have your top 2, and then you got everyone else kind of fighting for those last 2 playoff spots if they want them. I know we saw last year before a couple teams opted out. But, Fairview looking just to get on the field and play. Corey trying to come up with a big win after losing Northeast. Northeast looked pretty good ever since installing that jet sweep pass. They're getting their athletes into some space. I think we might see more teams start doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how
the
Farrell.
Steelers did it last night.
Yeah, Steelers did it last night. Farrell did that to death to win a state title last year with Jordan Townsend and Kai Wright. So
I gotta say this though before you go on. That jet sweep where you toss it forward, I think that's a nice play. I like it. But as a traditionalist, I hate that that's a pass.
Yeah.
Like, I think that should be like, if you get it behind a line of scrimmage, I don't even believe this, but it seems like it should be a run.
Mm-hmm.
And the completion percentages go off the charts for the quarterbacks who do it because they're like 9 of 10. Well, 6 of them have been flipped straight ahead.
And the funny thing is, it's almost like it's more safe than a pitch. Because if the running back drops it, it's an incomplete pass.
Exactly.
It's not a fumble. So it's ever since they adopted, I think we're going to see that a lot more in high school football. It's just around teams around here trying to look for some kind of offense.
And it's just a faster version of the spread almost, isn't it? Because they're sort of keying off the ends on it, and if you flip it forward, and I'm not sure it's always an RPO with those run pass option in these cases, but in a lot of these plays, it seems like you're playing to get outside the end or to get upfield.
And what I like about it too is it's a lot faster than a reverse, trying to get your running back the ball when a lot of running backs are faster than running backs in some cases. So it's a different way to get these teams more speed and more in their athletes in open space. So it's going to be interesting to see how much this is adapted.
I agree. We mentioned the Seneca game has been Seneca has forfeited it. The Greenville has not gotten
Not yet.
Okay. And we also have, we mentioned the Iroquois against Wilmington this week, which is a tough matchup on Iroquois' homecoming. But we have one other head-to-head interesting game, smaller schools. Mercyhurst Prep is at Union City.
Yeah, Union City's always tough at home. Grass field, they like to slow things down and make you really earn it with some physical play. Mercyhurst Prep had 2 weeks to get ready for this. I'm sure they were not happy sitting around not doing nothing, but not playing. Yeah. So I think they're pretty antsy to get back out there and play. So it's going to be interesting to see how they adapt to that. But Mercyhurst Prep's looking. It's funny because you lose a heartbreaker to Harbor Creek, you want to get back out there and hit somebody, and you have to sit for a week. So I think they're going to be pretty amped up for this game.
And Northwestern is hosting Lakeview. Northwestern going for their 5th win. We also have a Saturday matchup this week. J.J. Woodward is back in action. And Erie High.
Yeah, they're going to Canisius, who I think McDowell beat by like 21 or something like that earlier this year. But that's J.J. Woodward, another weapon for Erie High. Mm-hmm. If they can get him and Trayvon Tate and Julian Granberry, Brendan Thurston, all these guys going together, that game against McDowell in a few weeks could be a lot closer.
Why don't you remind people what J.J. Woodward did last
year? Yeah, 8 touchdowns, which is a Erie County record, scored 52 points, another Erie County record, 6 rushing, 1 receiving, 1 pick six. And it's funny to watch the reaction to it. It was 71-20. But in no way was Erie High running this ball the score up. They just kept getting loose. Du Bois was kind of arm tackling a little bit at the end there, and guys just kept getting loose for touchdowns. They weren't throwing the ball; they were just kept running it. So. And
they had how many points in the third quarter?
It was 44. I think.
44 points in the third quarter. So it wasn't like they were piling it on.
No, they were down 20-7, and so they had to keep scoring. And you watch the 8 touchdowns. One was a snap over the head, and the guy and Woodward somehow scored on it. He brought back a pick six, a couple touchdowns. He was bottled up and somehow got out of it.
And there were plays where he seemed to break 8 tackles all at once.
Yeah, and he's a weapon that I think Rob Matz was counting on all year. And I think he was out a little bit for injuries, and now he's back.
He hasn't had a lot of carries.
Yeah, and now he's fully healthy.
I'm sure he's going to get a lot of carries in bigger games. Tom, any other games you're looking at, Southern games or anything that interest you? I know there was some crazy stuff going on in one region last week.
Yeah, Region 5. It's so up and down. It's going to be tough. Whoever finishes in 5th place will miss the playoffs. And right now, you think about it, it's Slippery Rock. And they just beat Titusville 42-13 last week. And Titusville will be in the playoffs at 3A. So it's a tough situation. Conneaut is a very interesting team now. Tanner Neiman, quarterback, announced he's out for the season with a shoulder injury, which is tough because he was having a great year. He was almost in the running for talk about MVP.
He was going to be a 1,000 player if he could have kept the pace.
He was having a 100-merit kind of season. And, they still have Noah Richardson. They still have Devin Neal. They still have some weapons. But they have to go to Slippery Rock now. This could end up deciding that last playoff spot. Grove City and Sharon are now on top in the region. Now they play each other. Grove City coming off a really tough loss at Hickory, where they scored late, went for 2 to tie the game, and they ran the swinging gate. It did not work. And it's just a tough loss, 21-19 to Hickory.
And Hickory's also on top too, right?
Yeah.
And they're visiting Westinghouse in Pittsburgh this week.
They're right on top too. That region is just so convoluted and crazy. But
it's a great region, though.
Yeah, it's
highly competitive. That's what we like to see in a region where a lot of the teams are very well matched.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier this week to someone in Mercer County, this is my favorite region, I think, this year. Because I think all 5, no offense to Region 6, I think all 5 kind of have a shot at winning Region 6. Yeah. And all 5 teams are very good. So whoever comes out of District 10 and 3, I think will come out of Region 5. We may even see an all Region 5 semifinal unless Harbor Creek Merchants Prep can step up and beat one of those powerhouses. So those 2 games should be a lot of fun to watch this week.
There's one other big region battle happens in Region 7.
Meadville, Oil City.
There you go.
I
knew you'd think of it.
Meadville coming from a winless season to, if they win this game, they basically win the region. It's pretty incredible.
They're 5-1 now, aren't they?
Yeah, and they got to go to the oil field, which is never easy to win down there. Oil City playing like they don't miss Christian Cole at all, having a great season. So it's going to be. They
miss Christian Cole.
They miss him, but they've replaced him, pretty effectively with Noah Petro and Cam Russell, and they've had a great season. Even Holden Stahl last week, 2 touchdowns passing, 2 touchdowns rushing.
Yeah.
Noah Petro 168 on the ground, 2 touchdowns, and JT Stallman 2 catches for touchdowns. So Oil City's done a great job replacing Christian Cole, and it's going to be tough for Meadville to go down and get a win.
I know we've gone a little long this week, but a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of interesting things going on. If you want more coverage, look for the Erie Times News all week, and look on GoErie.com. We'll have our call, we'll have District 10 rankings, we'll have the preview capsules beforehand, and we'll have coverage that night. Tom is heading out to Gus Anderson Field to watch the Prep-McDowell game, so that'll be interesting. Watch his coverage in Saturday's edition. Thanks for joining us in Week 7 of Kickoff Talk.